strict instructions to start the session on time, so I'll get going. My name is Frankie Stevens, and I'm a member of the project team with the RDSI project. So it's my pleasure to introduce this session for you this morning, and the session is about managing, publishing and finding data. And our first speaker is Sue Cook, and Sue has been an information specialist at CSIRO for 5 years and is currently part of the research data service support team. She also has interest in emerging technologies and using online social networks for professional development. And Sue is going to talk to us about Build It and They Will Come, strategies to populate a self-serve data repository. Thank you.
Thank you. As said, my name's Sue Cook. I'm from CSIRO's research data support team. Can everybody hear me? Okay, fine. This talk has been written in collaboration with my esteemed but sadly former leader, Jerry Ryder. She's not dead, she's just in the audience. So we called it Build It and They Will Come. Heavy irony intended, because we all know that's not true. And it's not even right. It's a misquote from Field of Dreams from 1989. The librarian and me had to just go and find that out. So it's a story, it's not a how we did it good story, it's a story about a work in progress and just a case study of what we've tried so far. Oops. Nervous clicking. So what I'm going to discuss is a bit of an introduction to CSIRO for those people that are not familiar with our organisation, what we've built, what we've tried so far, what we think worked and what are we going to try next. So CSIRO is a large, diverse organisation. We're widely spread, 6,500 people across 58 locations. They sit in 12 divisions and their projects sit in 11 flagships. So you can see by that we haven't got one organisational culture. There's definitely not one culture of data sharing. We built the Data Access Portal. It was developed by CSIRO Information Management and Technology Division. That includes IT and libraries. But we built it in conjunction with some research partners. So it was a secure repository. This is a secure repository. And it was built to enable external publication. But we do have options for other access levels. And it was originally built, or it still is, designed as a self-serve but enterprise-wide repository. So it's not discipline-specific. Our timeline for development started back in December '09, and we partnered with a Murray-Darling Basin Sustainable Yields project who had a requirement to share large amounts of data. So they were looking for a solution for that. Also, the next phase was our Australian Telescope National Facility, who also had a similar requirement, but they were large numbers of collections. Our phase 3 started in February of 2011, and that's where we took it out to our early adopters and some pilot partners and tested it and got feedback for the design. We took it out to general release only in last April. So it's only been since then that we've been working on strategies in order to get people aside from these early adopters to start populating the repository. So what have we done? Well, first of all, we hope we've designed a user-friendly system. So as I said, we were responding to feedback from those early adopters. We've incorporated an agile methodology to have a roadmap that's flexible. We're in phase 5 of our development cycle as we speak. We brought on board the opinions of a user interface consultant. He vastly simplified the design. We can promote that we've got 4 easy steps to deposit. All they have to do is describe, formulate up their citation, deposit their data, protect their data. We've got extensive context-sensitive help. We've got support for a few domain-specific metadata schema. And we're trying to start to incorporate easier methods for data upload, including bulk uploads through scheduled data deposits, and also support for those that have already got XML metadata. We can import them in batches. So the other strategy was to try and incorporate some incentives in the infrastructure. So, of course, persistent identifiers for every collection. In July of this year, we've started minting DOIs for our public collections. We've enabled linking to related materials so that depositors can cross-link to other data sets, cross-link to their publications. We hope, well, we know we've got a flexible access and permissions framework, and we've got an approval system. So anything that goes out to the public has to go through an approver, and that mitigates any perceptions of risk. We've got image gallery view to enhance the look and feel of any image data that's uploaded, and discovery. So we've got our public records are findable in Research Data Australia, Google, and our data site. Next, we added personal support. So our Research Data Service Support team comprises 4 people currently. We're responsible for training, promotion, outreach, and recently we've added that we needed to add mediated deposit. So a researcher comes to us, we'll do as much as we can for them if they're not comfortable doing it for themselves, and then transfer it back to the business unit. If they've got issues with preparing their data for publication, they've got complex computing needs, we can call upon our advanced scientific computing colleagues, and of course refer back any system issues for still to our development team. Our training promotion strategies. We've got extensive online processes where we've got developed help pages, a troubleshooting guide. We've got a sandbox environment so people can go and have a look at the system without affecting the production environment. We've got quick reference cards and video tutorials on our intranet. We've made extensive use of emailed newsletters that are throughout the organisation, from the one that goes out organisational wide right down to little site newsletter articles. And we've made some use of our internal social media, Yammer. Personally, we talk and demo to anybody, anytime. If somebody wants a demonstration, we just do it. We've been doing face-to-face and video conferencing demonstrations. We do group demonstrations. We do training sessions through our library services. So they have a program of online training, and we've linked into that. And to date, we've reached 181 people that way. Everybody that had approver status had to have compulsory approver training, and we reached 80 that way, and we were hoping that they would filter through the messages down to their teams, because approvers are high level in the divisions. One thing that worked, we managed to get this image and this byline into a organisational wide weekly newsletter. It coincided with a redesign of our intranet. So this picture and this byline greeted anybody that logged onto the intranet for that week. And feedback from another thing that we did that I'll describe in a minute, we know that that certainly raised awareness. What we've done since then is tried targeting people. So we did an audit of what was already out there on our web pages, just to try and get them redirected into the data access portal. We're trying to target people at an appropriate point in the research cycle, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And we're trying to come up with lists of journals that have data policies and lists of funders that have data sharing mandates. So we're keeping a close eye on the JORD project out of JISC, for an example. Sorry. Okay, so what I mean by targeting people at the appropriate point in the research process, just started this in September. So what we're doing is making phone calls to all authors who have submitted articles to peer-reviewed journals or have had approval to submit articles in the previous 2 weeks. We're lucky we've got a mandated publications approval system, and we can pull out reports out of that and see who's in the active publication phase. So what we do is ring them up and say, we see you've got a publication, have you got data associated with that? Do you know that you can publish your data? Put in a citation in your paper. Interesting exercise that we, despite everything that we'd already done, we were finding actually very little awareness of the data access portal and the research data team. So making those phone calls is been a good awareness raising exercise at that, the people who have data sets level. After that marketing exercise that I've already shown you, this is the exercise that showed us that awareness actually raised by that, because then we were starting to say, oh yes, I saw that on the internet. Okay, outcomes of all of this, the numbers, if we're measuring success by numbers. Just prior to general release, we had 356 collections in the repository. 304 of those were published. Now we have 564 with 364 published, so that's an increase of 60. But what we've done is doubled the number of depositors and doubled the number of divisions that are depositing at the moment. So I think that's a success. I just wanted to show you a breakdown of those numbers because it tells a bit of a story. 564, as I said, in total, 419 at the published stage. This is just a reflection that we have an approval process. So we've got a lot in the pipeline that are coming through. And the other thing to say, the breakdown, is that this is a reflection of our early research partnering stage where we've got a bulk of the collections coming through from a couple of the divisions. This one is us doing the mediated deposit process, so that's coming through the pipeline. And further, just wanted to show you that this is a reflection of the access, giving people choice of access levels, that one of our divisions is choosing to make their sets only available to specific users. But that's okay, that's how we designed it. If we look at collections added by date, oops, you can see that those are the bulk numbers that were coming through from our Telescope research partners. So they did a bulk upload at that stage, and this is our general release. So we've got a gradual increase in numbers since general release, but that was the bulk upload. So what worked? Well, DOIs work. Researchers know what we mean by a DOI and having a permanent link and a citable set. So the DAP was built for self-service, but we needed to add in support for metadata creation and data preparation. I think catching people at the right point in the cycle is working. Talking to people at the top levels doesn't necessarily work, doesn't go down, so you've got to talk to people that actually have the data. Feeding to feedback and implementing a flexible roadmap is working, and if numbers are your success criteria, then having some sort of automatic deposit and batch upload process works. So the best outtake, and these points everybody knows already from having repositories, is if they come to us with a issue that we can solve, well, that's obvious. There's motivating factors, so if they've got funder requirements, journal policies, they work. If there's a pre-existing data sharing culture. But the other thing that we've found is the project has to be current or recently shut down. The older the data sets are, the less people want to go back and revisit it. In CSIRO, people are mostly fully allocated to projects, to current projects. They've not got the time or the resources to go back and deal with their legacy data sets. And the older the data sets are, the harder the IP ownership issues are to sort out, and harder the data structure issues are resolved. They're not insolvable, but it's a time and resources barrier that people just don't want to think about. So what's next? We're implementing some further carrots in the infrastructure. I know that John Morrissey is going to be talking about this a bit later in the day, so I'll flick through this one. But as far as our strategy is going, we're looking at tracking, because we're implemented DOIs, now we have to start looking at how we're going to track those. We're going to still go ongoing with our promotion. We've got some particular things we can do, increase our visibility to the internet, target our courses that are already existing. We want to address somehow the do not have time and resources issues with those legacy data sets, because they're huge in number out there. We're thinking about just thinking about doing something like putting in vacation students, embedding them with the researchers or something like that. And we're looking at developing guidelines and procedures, including the data management template, and addressing the elephant in the room. I want to acknowledge past and present members of the data support team who have all contributed to this presentation, and thanks to Anne's for support. And thank you. And is there any questions?
Could I encourage you to use the mic? So we want to capture your question as well as the answer for recording.
Hello. Hello. Yes. Yeah, question about sort of scalability and sustainability. Are you at the point yet, or when do you anticipate being at the point where this will become self-sustaining and you won't need to make those phone calls to encourage people to deposit data? Or is that going to be pretty much an ongoing, permanent part of the process?
It's like the discussion yesterday of when do you measure that you've made that organisational change point. It's as long as a piece of string. It's going to take as long as it takes. Yeah.
Nobody's watching you.
Thanks for a great presentation. My question is really from the perspective of staff in a service like this. I would like to know how you guys keep your motivation out through that process of trying to get staff into a repository like this. What strategies you have for keeping yourselves kind of working through that process?
Every little success. Every time we have a win and we actually email each other and say, I've got somebody today. And when we go in, like just this week, I had gone to a researcher, somebody had referred me to a referral, like somebody said, oh, Steve's got lots of data, and I went and talked to Steve, says, well, actually, Belinda's doing something right now. Talked to Belinda. She said, oh, yeah, I'm in the process of publication, and it involves images, but actually my images are animated GIFs, and I really like to put that somewhere and put it in the publication. And that was like 3 months ago, and she put it through to, actually was published last week. And I did, because it's self-service, I didn't even know that was happening, so it was like, yay, I got somebody.
All right, if there are no further questions, if you could join me in thanking Sue for a lovely talk.